Okay, hey there. Now we are gonna talk about something really sinister and bad. The possibility of the nuclear war. Hi, here is Markku WIlenius. And we have a pretty serious topic now, which is about whether we're gonna have a nuclear war in our lifetime, which would be, of course, very devastating. So let's discuss about it. The closest that we ever got to have a nuclear war was actually 1962. And that was the time when there was something which was called Cuban Missile Crisis. Those days, we had a US President, John F. Kennedy, and on the Soviet Union side, we had Nikita Khrushchev. Now, whatever you think about these guys, and particularly Khrushchev, they were quite rational guys, but in spite of that, there were severe situations where there was very, very close that actually a nuclear warhead was launched from the U-boat of Soviet Union. And actually it was only one officer in that very boat who finally realized that if he presses that button, that's gonna be the end of the war as they knew it. Because he has been given an order from upper side to launch the nuclear warhead. Well, he didn't do that, and that sort of saved the world. There might have been also some other instances. But those days, these leaders were still, in some ways, in the situation where they were sort of rational actors, and on both sides, they knew the consequences, even if we were so close. Now this time, we have Mr. Putin, and he has already shown in many other cases that he shies away any kind of normal, rational logic. If we think about the launching of the whole war, what is the point there? It cannot be economic. There was not really much to gain. Politically, maybe, but we have already seen that that was also highly big illusion with no real ground. So anyway, Russia, as of today, is of course very important nuclear power state that have a lot of warheads. And the situation is currently so that he is sending regularly messages out saying that, kind of implying that he might, at some instances, consider to use them. This is the type of the threat which we haven't seen really before. And we have to question ourselves that how did we end up this type of the situation, and what is the way out of here? Because of course it's not only about the decision of the leader Putin, it's also a decision of the army, what they are ultimately doing with these nuclear weapons that they have at their disposal. But one thing is sure, if somebody seriously uses those weapons in one way or another, that's gonna change our world forever. Even if they are what they call the tactical nuclear weapons. We need to think this way. The tensions that have arisen are the consequence of a complex system. And this complex system was generated by the invasion of Russian troops to Ukrainian territory. And ever since, we have seen the escalation of all kinds. And the question, the ultimate question about the nuclear war is that, of course, there are no winners in that war. So why even to bother to be concerned? And this would certainly happen under normal conditions, but we are not here under normal conditions. We are dealing with a beast, so to say. At least some human beings that have been pushed to the corner because their intentions have not worked out. and yet they are very powerful. I think this is the time for all of us to think about how to prevent these types of escalations to happen in the future, with the hope that this current tension somehow cools down one way or another. And while we are wishing that to happen, we should also start to build the kind of a system that completely outstages that type of the possibility of the nuclear war. For that to happen, we need a total new type of security planning on this earth, something that we haven't seen this far. Well, we have United Nations, and with that we have a kind of a negotiation system, and we have all kinds of bilateral agreements that some of them has been done between Soviet Union and United States, some of them between Russia and United States, and some of them multilateral agreements. In spite of this, in this type of the escalation that we have just seen, all these agreements may not anymore apply as they do apply in the normal circumstances. So the message is very clear. We should never enable these types of escalations to happen. And I think the only real solution would be something like this. It is actually a global ban for nuclear warheads. So what can we do in this type of a situation? We don't have that global governance system. We have not stopped actually using these nuclear warheads as a weapon for fears. So we still have all those stocks. And hopefully in the future, we will find out that that's not good for anybody to have those. And we would have a global ban on nuclear warheads. May sound very distant at this time, but I would say that it's not impossible to reach that. Now, before that, of course, what is the other thing that we need to be doing is to prevent the current crisis and Putin ever get to the situation where he really start to send signals that he might be using those nuclear warheads. Because he might get very desperate. He's losing on all grounds. He's looking at support in his own country. He's losing the territory that Russia has occupied. And he's losing all moral grounds. So he's on the losing side and he might get desperate about it. Hopefully, there can be a coalition of countries that can simply come up with the suggestion that he has to follow and stop these tensions. That, I believe, is the only way that we can really ward off the possibility that the nuclear weapons will be used in this terrible war. Summarizing, there has been a nuclear war threat before in the world, but today this threat is very particular because there are people in the Russian side now that might even consider to use those tactic nuclear warheads as a part of a desperate attempt to occupy their neighbor countries. So let's hope that the world find new ways to convince that this is not good for anybody and we can do something more intelligent instead. Subscribe to my channel and look at the related videos and show this one for your friends. See you again.